Hello, hello. Welcome to Divorce the Next Chapter, the podcast. Um, the video, I'm sorry I bought new equipment and I'm trying to play with it. But anyway, let's get into it. I don't have much time. So here we go. So the title of this podcast is You Didn't Fall in Love with Him, You Fell in Love with His Potential. And I think so many of us fall into this category. We're young, we fell in love when we were either in high school or just out of high school or in college, just out of college, like young. And everything is rose colored glasses, right? Everything is rose colored glasses. Everybody has potential, and we fall in love with the potential of these men. We see them graduating, we see them becoming a successful business person. They're telling us that they want the same things as us. They want the family, they want the white picket fence, they want the 2.5 kids and the car and the house and the, you know what I'm saying? You fall in love with that because you fall in love with the potential of what your future holds. And there's no problem in that. The problem becomes when you excel and that other person stays the same. So we're going to dive into this. I got my notes so I could stay on track and we'll get this going, okay? Because I'm not a long-winded podcaster. I let's get to the fucking point. You know what I mean? Let's go. All right. So we are loving the idea of someone rather than who they are. So that's what happens when you start to grow up, right? You meet this person, you guys fall in love, you're sweethearts, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you start to grow, he doesn't start to grow, and you're still in love with that potential that you had, that potential future, that potential person that it was. So you have to take a step back and recognize when love is based on potential versus reality. So how do you do that? There's a couple of ways of doing it. There's a lot of ways actually, but we're going to only hit on some major stuff right now, okay? Or else this will be like a 4-hour podcast, and we don't want that. So, reason why this happens. Idealization of the future. We envision a version of him that never materializes. It just doesn't happen. It never materializes. So people often project their hopes onto others. You put these ideal images, and you make this whole picture, this whole narrative. And the other person might have the same goals and aspirations. They might be telling you, "Yeah, I want to do this." And that's kind of what happened to me. Like, we met when we were young, right? And I was right out of college. I was right out of nursing school. I had already started my first nursing job. I think we were dating like 3 or 4 months when I started my first nursing job. And he was, he had a job, a decent job, and he was wanted to go to college. I encouraged him to go, and encouraged him to go and finish his associate's degree in telecommunications. And he got his first telecommunications job. We moved out, we got an apartment together. And it was, the goals and aspirations were the same. We were both rising at the same level. We were both going at the same level. I was a nurse. I achieved my goal. I had some opportunities in the future, whatever, but he was now working in the field that he went to school for. So it was great. 4 months in, he gets laid off. Laid off, okay? Looking back, I know he got fired, but then he got laid off. So it started the cycle then. But I was too young to see the waving red flag. I was too fucking young. And I was too naive. And all my friends were getting married and divorced and married again. That's a different story for another topic. But yes, all my friends were, I was the bridesmaid in 27 Dresses, the movie. I was that girl. I actually had to get a per diem nursing job to pay for all of the bridesmaids' dresses and responsibilities and wedding gifts. Swear to God, okay? I wanted that life. I really wanted that life. And he was telling me he wanted it too. So we were young. We were 23, 24, 25 years old. Why not? That's kind of what you talk about. That's kind of what you aspire, right? Everybody has that job, and we go, and this is what you do. So it's not that it's a bad thing. It doesn't start off as a bad thing. But then you realize as you get older and as you grow and as things happen, you start to realize what's going on. Okay? So, so another reason, fear of being alone. Like I said, everybody around me was getting married. They were living together. They were everybody I knew. So it was almost fear of being left out. It was almost, I wanted it so bad that I fell in love with the potential that I saw in him, and I ignored all the red flags that were waving around me. I'm not alone in this, right? So, you know, you could be insecure. You could be that girl like that never had a boyfriend. I never had a boyfriend in college. I had friends with benefits, but I didn't have a boyfriend, and I really didn't want one. I kind of looked at the other girls like, are you crazy? Like the drama that surrounded all of these girls with the boyfriends and who cheated, and I could tell you crazy college stories, but that'll be an episode for a different day. It's almost, you just want it. You're surrounded by it. So, all right. Signs that it's based on potential rather than true reality. Okay? Some of these red flags that we ignore. So the first time something happens, okay. The repeat performance of that, you have a conversation, oh, he'll change, he'll do this, he'll do that. Okay. The third, the fourth, the fifth, the umpteenth time, that was that red flag waving, smacking you on the forehead. Okay? And that should have been me. Somebody should have taken a red flag and hit me upside the head with it. Okay? You ignore those signs because you believe so wholeheartedly in that potential that you see that person. I saw him getting that next job. I saw him succeeding. He had a job at a cable company, again in his field, okay? And he got an entry-level position. We were thrilled. Was pregnant with my first daughter. This is 22 years ago, okay? We were thrilled. And the potential for that job was enormous. So he got the entry-level position. Then it was, okay, I'm going to get this certification, I'm going to get that certification, and he's going to move up in rank. I don't remember the levels. It was like you become a journeyman, then become a foreman, and like a supervisor, and whatever. You just rise the ranks, right? And with that, you rise in the pay, just like any other job. And it was never that. He took the first part of the certification. Then he waited so long to take the second part of the certification, they changed the whole entire thing. He had to start from scratch. Well, he self-sabotaged. And he never wound up doing it. So he stayed an entry-level position, minimal raises, for 9 years. The fact that he held on to a job for 9 years was amazing, because so many times he should have been fired that I know about. I am sure that there are other times, but I saw the potential in him. I was encouraging him. I made every sacrifice to try to get him, make it easier for him to take the certification, make it easier for him to go for, somebody was helping him how to pass the test. I tried my best in helping in that whole situation, but to no avail. And the reason I did not succeed is because he had to want it for himself. He had to want to be better for the family and for himself, and that was the problem. That was the problem. So ways to recognize that you're in this situation, ways to say, hey, I think I fell in love with this idea of the potential and not the actual person. Because over and over and over again, he's shown me what the actual person, who he actually is. And I'm not going to ignore those red flags anymore. I have to pay attention because now I have kids involved. I had two daughters. I have two daughters. Two daughters involved. And they're watching this. They're watching me break my back, doing overtime, doing per diem, working all the time. And what was he doing? Nothing. Nothing. I won't even get into it, okay? That's, again, a story for another podcast. So, you're frequently disappointed, okay? So basically, the cycle starts, whatever it is, whatever that potential, that expectation, and that potential fails. So the potential is being frequently disappointed, right? You're frequently disappointed. So I was on this loop. I was on this crazy loop. And it was like, okay, he got a job. Okay, he's going to succeed. Okay, he failed. Okay, he's sabotaged. Okay, he doesn't have a job. Okay, he got a job. Okay, he's going to succeed. Okay, he's going to excel. Okay, he got fired. Okay. And it was just round and round, years and years and years, because that 9 year cable job that he had, that he never succeeded, and he always made entry level pay that didn't help our family and didn't contribute, that came to an end, and the cycle started for another 10 years, 19 years, over and over. So I was frequently disappointed. The second thing is you are feeling unfulfilled or drained. I was exhausted. Not just physically exhausted because I'm a nurse and I have a physically exhausting job, but I was also mentally, emotionally, spiritually exhausted. I was just going through the motions. Just going through the motions. I had two kids. I had a toddler. I was just fried out and totally unfulfilled. I would ask over and over again. He would ask me, oh, what do you want for your birthday? And I would say, just, you know what would be great? Buy me like 5 yoga sessions. Buy me like a yoga session pack. Never. Never. Nothing that I asked. That's such a minimal, like a minimal type of example. But nothing that I asked. Do me a favor, empty out the dishwasher, put the dishes. No. If he felt like it, that was a different story. But there was also underlying in all of this, which I realized later on in our relationship, was a lot contributing to an underlying mental health disorder, undiagnosed, untreated, in denial about. Not me, him. So my situation was compounded, very much so. Um, so I was unfulfilled and I was drained. That should be your red flag smacking you in the face. Okay? And repeat patterns, like I said. Oh, Jesus. Repeat patterns, the cycle, going around and around and around and around. And you think you're breaking it, you're holding your breath, and all of a sudden you're getting ready to exhale, and boom, it happens again, and goes around and around. And it could be insert any situation. Any situation. If you are on that repeat cycle, that should be your red flag. If it happens over and over, and I promise I'll change, I promise I'll do this, and it happens for like 3 days and a week, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's over, and oh, that is your red flag. Okay? How do you get out of it? How do you get out of it? You've been on this cycle. You fell in love with that potential when you were like so young, 15, 20, 25 years ago. And now you realize it's not it. How do you get out of it? You have to do some super deep reflection. Super deep reflection. And ask yourself, current situation, present tense, what do you love about that person? What do you love about that person? Is that person fulfilling your needs? Is that person meeting you where you're at? Is that person doing what you need them to do in order to be a healthy partnership? If you're getting no to any of those questions, you really need to self-reflect. Okay? You have to be willing to walk away and start over. Whatever that looks like for you. You just have to accept the fact of what's going on, and you have to be willing to start over. You have to focus on yourself, self-growth. I love yoga. I got back into yoga. You might like bike riding. Get back into bike riding. You might like bird watching. I don't know. Whatever you used to do that you found satisfying, start doing that again. And if you don't know what that is, start another hobby. Go to the book club at the library. Do something. Do something for yourself. For yourself. Okay. So, it's important to love people for who they are. We can start a relationship loving somebody for their potential because that's where you're at that time of your life. And it is okay to realize that no longer serves you. It's okay. I promise. So, what are some strategies to help you on this journey after you realize the situation, after you make whatever move it is you need to make in order to get yourself out of the situation? It's a lot of self-reflection and self-love because we lose part of ourselves. I lost almost all of myself. Almost all. In that period of time. Okay? So it's time to refocus and to look inward and at ourselves. So you could reflect and journal. Just get a marble notebook, and every night just write down 5 sentences. You don't have to be crazy. Just write down a sentence, 5 sentences of how you're feeling. You could do a guided meditation journal. I have some great ones. If you want, put it in the comments, and I'll hook you up with some really great guided meditation. Write down just what happens in the day, how you felt throughout the day, what your emotional inside was, and see if there's a connection. You have to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries and stick to them. That's the key. Figure out what your hardline no's are. Figure out, no, I'm not going to take that anymore, and stick to them. You're not being a bitch, okay? You're not being a fucking bitch. You are taking care of yourself, and you know what? Your kids are going to look up to you for that. They're not going to think that you're being mean. The people around you are going to respect you for your boundaries. And if they don't, goodbye. Okay? Rediscover your passions. Okay? Whatever it was that you were into, get into again. Do something for yourself. And surround yourself with supportive people. It is so important to find your people. It is so important. You have friends that support you and will help you. And if you have a friend that's, a Debbie Downer, bye bye, Debbie. Bye bye. Okay? Negative self talk. I could do a whole podcast series on changing negative self talk. But the fastest way I could say it is when that negative talk goes into your brain, you have to change the script. You have to flip the script on, I'm not good enough. You have to immediately recognize that you're talking negative and change that statement, I'm not good enough, into I am worthy. I have a whole workbook on my website, janataglinetti.com. You could get it, the Divorce, the Survival Guide. It goes through some of these things, and it's a jump start to help you, okay? If you need therapy, go to therapy, please. If you need therapy, if your friend is saying, I think you need therapy, go to therapy, okay? Not everybody has to go to therapy, but not everybody doesn't have to go to therapy. There are plenty of people that really, and you know what, therapy, you let it all out, and they give you coping skills, and they tell you how to manage things when you're in too deep. It's not forever. Go to therapy if you need therapy, please, okay? And then always be grateful for your progress. Thank you so much for beep, fill in the blank, okay? Thank you for helping me beep, fill in the blank. Be grateful and celebrate your wins. I'm so happy I stuck to my boundary today. I can't believe I said no. That is so great. I'm so happy. Celebrate yourself, okay? We don't do enough of that. We really don't. Okay. I could go on, but you have to just remember that healing is a journey. You got your ups, you got your downs. The first part of it is recognizing. The second part of it is acknowledging. Well, recognizing, acknowledging, and then doing something about it. So if you want some help, message me. I have Divorce the Survival Guide. It's a really quick jumpstart workbook and videos talking you through it. It's really super simple. Just message me and I'll hook you up with it, okay? I hope everybody has a really great day. Join us next week for a new topic, and I'll talk to you soon, okay? All right, great. Love you. Bye.